Bible 606 matching. Gabriel, an angel, John the Baptist prepared the way for Jesus. Zacchaeus, small man who climbed a tree to see Jesus. Zechariah, prophet who foretold of Jesus riding a colt into Jerusalem. Hebrews, book that says Jesus is the same always. Zacharias, father of John the Baptist. Isaiah, prophet who described the ministry of Jesus. Pilate, Roman governor. Elijah and Moses appeared at the Transfiguration. Herod, governor over Galilee. Publican, one who collected Roman taxes. Samaritan, would not speak to the Jews. Oh yeah, I made a 70 on my math test and I made a 100 on my English test. I was so excited. I was jumping. Fill in the blank. Mary was a virgin. She had not married and had obeyed God's commandments. So this week I'm staying at Bailey's house on Thursday night, and Miss Melissa's gonna take me home. So I'm glad I don't have to wake up early, and I'm glad I don't have school the next day. Yeah, I don't have to wake up early. A voice from heaven was also heard at the baptism. The transfiguration is when Jesus was glorified and the transfiguration is when Jesus was glorified and a voice from heaven was heard. The resurrection is when Jesus arose from the dead. To be timeless without beginning or end is to be eternal. Something that can be explained as God doing it. It is a miracle. An earthly story with a heavenly meaning is a parable. One of the purpose of the transfiguration was to assure the disciples of the divine nature of Christ. The Jewish people, the Jewish place of worship that Jesus attended regularly was regularly was the synagogue. The parable of the prodigal son shows God as waiting for his children to come into repentance, to try to lead someone to do wrong, especially by promising them pleasure or gain, is to tempt. The good news about Jesus is called the gospel. The first 4 books of the New Testament in the order they appear in the New Testament are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Bailey's house, yay! I was not happy that I got a 70, but I felt okay because it's still a not a perfect grade, but it's a okay grade, but it's a better than a 41 and 51. So I made a 100 on self-test 4 and self-test 3 I made a 75. True or false? Isaiah described Jesus' ministry. The prophet Micah prophesies where Jesus would be born. The gospel is not a story told by Jesus. It is a story lived by Jesus. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the first 4 books of the New Testament. Jesus is eternal because he has no beginning or ending. Jesus came to save the lost. Mary, the mother of Jesus, was a virgin. Zacharias was John the Baptist's father. A parable is an earthly story with a heavenly meaning. Miracles can only be explained as something God does. Multiple choice. The other one was true, false. Jesus read a description of his ministry from the prophet Isaiah. The first group of men to come to worship Jesus in Bethlehem were the shepherds. Jesus performed his first miracle in Cana. The shepherds were told about Jesus by angels. The wise men were warned how to leave Bethlehem by God. That Jesus was the Son of God was emphasized by John. The New Testament has 27 books. Zacharias was a priest. Luke records Jesus' visit to Jerusalem when he was 12 years old for the Passover. One of the purposes of the transfiguration was to assure the disciples of the divine. The parable of the prodigal son. Where and when was the man with the withered hand healed? In the synagogue. In the synagogue on the Sabbath. I got a 100 on my English test. Oh my god, I got a 100. Yay, I was jumping. Yay. And I got a 70 on my math test, but I did not feel too happy, but I felt okay because that's a better grade. I felt okay, but not 100% happy, but I felt okay. Yeah, I felt okay. It's a better grade,